to At the Office, Cleveland's home for sports talk that never clocks out. From the latest headlines to heated debates, we're diving into everything sports. It's your hosts, Noah, John, and Erik.
Hey, everybody. Welcome into The Office, the show where we talk all things sports. I'm your host, Erik, and I'm joined by my co-host, Noah. And you can join us at The Office as well. Send us a comment on YouTube, Facebook, or X, or you can call or text the show at 216-260-3433. That's 216-260-3433. Unfortunately, John could not be with us tonight, but you've got me, you've got Noah. Noah, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. I miss John a little bit. That's my buddy, but I'm happy to be here talking sports as I always am on a beautiful Wednesday night. And by beautiful, I mean not so beautiful, but beautiful because the Guardians are 2-0 at home. So there are no complaints over here in my realm and in my world right now.
2-0. I don't know that we need to say that it's against the White Sox, but you know what? A win is a win, and we'll take every single one that we can get.
For sure, my man. For sure.
All right. We got an awesome show ahead. You ready to jump in and do it?
Of course I am, man. Always.
All right. So we'll start first with what we always start with, which is 30-second takes. And I figured now is the time. We haven't talked a lot of March Madness, honestly, even though it's been going on. We touched on it here and there, but we have two champions now that we've crowned. Florida took the men's championship, and my UConn Huskies, that I had to wear the gear today, they took the women's. Paige finally got hers. I want to know your reaction to March Madness. Throw 30 seconds up there and tell me what you thought.
Yeah, I just realized we do not have the time. Well, we could do it this way. It's going to look a little rough. No, I don't have it. Never mind. We do not have the timer for this episode, and I did not realize it until right this very second. So, Erik, I am going to trust your gut to time me for a second and not be an asshole about it. And then I'll time you.
Just do your thing. I trust you.
Okay. I was going to start it by nodding off and falling asleep because it was the most boring March Madness I've watched in recent memory. Congrats to UE as a not a closeted, but a distant UConn fan, a solid UConn fan for winning a game or winning the championship. And overall, it's just whatever to me. I haven't been able to get into college hoops for a while, especially with the funnel that it takes to make the NBA or the WNBA being so narrow and quick. What about you, man?
Yeah, well, let me first say that I didn't time you at all, so no idea. I think it was good. But yeah, I watched both. The men's, the flow was terrible, and that's because of how Houston plays. And Florida, actually, to their credit, they kind of played a similar game, that defensive style. So they were doing this the whole time, and it didn't really make for good watching. I mean, they couldn't even hit a shot. It was terrible. But congrats to Florida. I was bummed. I was rooting hard for Houston, and terrible way to end the game. But how about them Huskies, man? Paige Beckers, the big three, getting it done. I was so happy for her, first of all, but 12 national championships for the women. I saw a stat that I could not believe, and that is since 1999, UConn men and women's, I have the men's championships on right now. Men and women since 1999, they've won 33% of the national championships. I mean, just think about that. That's beyond dynasty. That's just incredible.
Oh, it is for sure. UConn's basketball program is super historical, super historied. You know what word I'm trying to put in there. I don't know, man. College basketball, I like March Madness when it gets all wild and we end up liking a random team from a random city that we've never heard of. We didn't have much, if at all, of that this year. And
all one seeds.
It was all, it was all one seeds. At least there was 1-2 seed UConn in the women's, and they ended up winning the whole thing. It was okay. I watched a little bit here and there. I watched some at the office, as I do on the side while I'm doing my work. Sports is sports, but it wasn't my cup of tea this year. It wasn't everything that it normally cracks up to be for me as a guy who really leans in and likes the idea of the word madness in his March Madness.
No, that's fair. And on another note, as much as I enjoy, I watch quite a bit of women's college basketball, watch a little bit of the W. The Caitlin Clark effect, though, viewership, it's the third largest viewership for a women's final. And yet they were down like 10 million viewers. And that says everything you need to know about what Caitlin Clark did last year. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll use myself as a case study there. I watched way more women's basketball in general last year in terms of March Madness, the college sports, all of that. Last year with Caitlin Clark than I did this year. Hopefully my fandom still translates to the W as it did last year, and I think it will, just because I'm a fan of many of the athletes over there and many of the different additions, especially with Cleveland getting a team, man, starting to pay attention and knowing what's up so I can talk about it at a more relatively familiar clip come 2028. You never know, right?
I'm so excited. And by the way, speaking of, so Paige will be drafted number 1 overall. It's all bet, it's pretty much a conclusion at this point, which means she'll go to Dallas. Dallas and the Indiana Fever, where Caitlin Clark is, they play, and they have already moved it to the arena. I guess probably the Mavericks arena down there in Dallas, because they're expecting just unbelievable amounts of people, which they're going to get, obviously.
100%. I'm excited. We've multiple times since Caitlin Clark went to Indiana, me and my girlfriend have mentioned and talked about going to a game just to get the energy, get the feel. I've never been to a WNBA game, and it's definitely on the bucket list of things to get going on and get to, this year.
I would say I would join you. Like Indiana Fever game would be perfect because it's not that far away. I don't know if we can get tickets to a Fever game. I think we might have to pick something else, maybe Chicago, because they're tough to get.
Yeah, they are. Not sponsored, at least not yet, but Game Time is your friend. I use that app for everything in terms of my ticketing needs, and not because of all the ad placement all over the place. Those prices are actually fantastic over there.
Fair shout. Well, if you guys end up going, let me know, because I might have to tag along and third wheel that one. I want to move on, but first, At the Office is sponsored by, speaking of, D&D Meadery. It's the finest mead in Northeast Ohio, and it's brewed by Derek and Dominic, twin brothers with a passion for craftsmanship. They took their love for winemaking straight from their ancestors in Germany, and they brought it here to share with all of us. And let me just tell you, I mean, this is good stuff. So I'm holding, they brought this ancient drink back to life. I'm holding their honey wine right now. This is their gold-winning honey wine, and we have been through bottles of this stuff. I know that John isn't with us tonight, but he in particular is quite the lush with the honey wine. He's a big fan, and he even cooks with it occasionally, which I thought was interesting. Leave it to him, but good stuff. Make sure you pick up your bottles. Here's the best part. If you use the code @the-office-CLE, write this down. It's at the bottom of your screen because it's kind of hard to follow, but it's @the-office-CLE. If you use that code when you order, you'll get an extra 5% off your order. And if you order 2 or more bottles, you'll get a free shot glass with your purchase, which I have here. Noah does not have one because he broke it. Let's
let it focus. Let it focus.
There it is.
I missed my shot glass already. It was one of my favorites to use, and the dishwasher ate it. Shout out Matt, one of the other hosts here at the office. He actually picked up some of the new flavors they have out. He had maple syrup. I believe strawberry was the other one. I know he had some of the maple syrup before the home opener, and we had an absolute blast with that. So make sure you go check out the new flavors as well, because they got a lot of good stuff cooking over there. Derek and Dominic, 2 twin brothers, 2 good guys. Shout out Derek and Dominic, man.
I have not had the maple syrup mead yet. I'm going to have to order that because that sounds delicious. If you use that code, I don't know if I said you'll get 5% off your order. We kind of got lost there. And if you order 2 or more bottles, you'll get that free shot glass. Visit dndmeadery.org. You can buy right there on D&D Meadery and use that code, Or if for some reason you want to pay more, you can find a retail location near you as well. Must be 21 or older. Please drink responsibly. Now, we have a little bit newer of a segment, and this is what we reserve for takes that might be a little longer than 30 seconds. Noah and I didn't really play by that clock today anyway, but that's okay. We need a little more time sometimes for topics. So go ahead and hit that intro, Noah. That's right, around the water cooler. And this around the water cooler, I want to talk about the Browns. They are our favorite subject no matter what the season is. We're in the middle of a potential playoff run, and Browns are still the hottest topic in town. And lately, they've been looking at just about every quarterback possible as they prepare for the draft. Notably, they've used 5 of their top 30 visits on QB prospects. Noah, break down for me who those prospects are and how you feel about what the Browns are doing right now.
Yeah, man, this is a fun one to talk about. Not so fun, in my opinion, to think about some of these names in the orange and brown. Shedeur Sanders, my favorite quarterback prospect in this class. Cam Ward, another name that obviously the Browns met with. They had the private workout in Miami, et cetera, et cetera. Jackson Dart, Ole Miss quarterback, has had some hype around his name as of late due to his size and arm power. Get into some of the hesitations in a second. Jalen Milroe, a quarterback that has been linked to the Cleveland Browns a couple times due to his college offensive coordinator for 1 year at Alabama, Tommy Rees, being the new offensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns. And the one that I groan the most about is one Tyler So from Texas Tech, Oregon, Louisiana, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, on his 6-year college career. He is currently 25, about to be 26 in September.
And if you said who when Noah just said that name, that's okay. That's perfectly okay.
So there's multiple things here. We can go prospect by prospect, I guess. Do we even need to talk about Cam or Shedeur? I think at this point we've all both beaten the dead horse here on the show. We'd rather them just take quarterback at 2. Happy if they do so. Let's move on from those 2. Cam's probably not going to be here. Shedeur. Well, we'll talk about some Shedeur options of how we can end up with him in a little bit here on the show. A little foreshadowing for you. Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart is my favorite of these bottom 3 quarterbacks because he has all the prototypical size, shape, stature, blah, 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 blah. The biggest hang up for me is the biggest hang up for most people who talk sports, which is he played in Lane Kiffin's offense. He does not have the offensive surrounding, shall we say, to make you feel comfortable he's going to make that drop. What I mean by that is that Jackson Dart played in a very easy to learn, easy to read offense, which Lane Kiffin is known for. Lane Kiffin's the head coach at Ole Miss. So that scares me a lot with him. That being said, I get it with the size and stature. If I'm picking bottom of the barrel,
he has skills that you can't teach. But can he even take a snap from under center? Like that's a question.
That's part of it too. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're dead ass right that Ole Miss's offense does not translate to the NFL at all. Footwork, how to take a snap. I mean, he could struggle a bit.
Yeah, and those are all concerns, but if you can iron it out, I get the appeal here. But I think we're trying to make, what is the saying, a square peg fit in a round hole in a draft that is weak at quarterback, which everyone knows that, just because this guy has the prototypical NFL size. So neither here nor there on that. He could be an option. A lot of people think he might actually end up going in the first, so there might have to be a trade scenario if the Browns are super sold on him. The guy that I think we should talk about the most, though, is one Jalen Milroe. And that's because of what I already said, his connection to the Browns. There's been a lot of rumors this week that the Browns are super interested in him. It kind of seems like if you're reading between the tea leaves, it'll be Travis Hunter at 2. It'll be Jalen Milroe at 33 and or trade up, just assuming a lot of different pieces don't fall. I am not a fan of Jalen Milroe. I get the athleticism.
Yeah,
I
tell me why, because I agree, but I want to hear your take first.
the the lack of pocket awareness. He will just stand in a pocket and take a sack almost to a fault. You know what I mean?
Okay,
You
so
like a guy that can get hit. I'm sorry, I'll let you go in a second. You like a guy that'll take a hit, but you don't want a guy who will just stand there forever and not do anything, especially at the level of an athlete, a level of the athlete that Jalen Milroe is.
it's funny that you say that because I have the exact opposite problem with him. He tends to bail out of clean pockets way too often because he's athletic and he relies on that athleticism. The film footage that I looked at, I mean, he's bailing out of a lot of clean pockets, and we've seen that before with Cleveland Browns
It's
quarterbacks.
the overall pocket awareness. I was going to get into that. Sometimes he will stand there and he'll just take a shot for no reason. Other times it'll
Yeah.
be 1 second in the pocket, it's completely clean, and he'll just run away, which I get it because you're an athlete and you can make the play, and he has the speed and agility to do things like that. It frustrates me. Another thing, we want to make fun of Kenny Pickett and his small hands.
The
Jalen
hand
Milroe
size.
had really small hands, and small hand size is not an exact,
Which he fumbled
measurement.
like 24 times in 2 seasons as a starter. So
Right.
fair.
Hand size doesn't always equate to not being a good NFL quarterback, but there's more cases than not showing that it doesn't equate to being a good NFL quarterback. What else do you think on Milroe?
One of my bigger issues with him is that he, like I said before, he has a tendency to really rely on his athleticism. He does it when he's in a pocket, so he'll scramble out of a clean pocket. He does it with his arm. He relies on his arm strength instead of good footwork and good mechanics. I'm not saying that those aren't things that could come with development, but the situation for the Browns is we need a guy that we could potentially plug in immediately. We don't need a guy that we can teach footwork to for the next 3, 4, 5 seasons that sits behind, a Brett Favre like Aaron Rodgers coming along. That's not what the Browns need. And so his decision making and progression, he forces throws sometimes into tight coverage. He had quite a few turnovers. Like you said about the hand size, I hate that stat. But the fumbles speak for themselves. He was sacked a lot too. I don't know. I think he has flashes of development that are there with the right coaching. But I'm out for the Browns, honestly.
Yeah, that's my thing too, is he's definitely a guy that's going to need plenty of time to develop in the NFL. And I don't think this is a team that should be relying on a developmental guy that much to be their guy. It seems like Stefanski and Barry's job security is very much fine in terms of how Haslam's talked and how both of them have talked. Obviously, that could
For
change at the
now.
drop of a dime, right? But I
Well, he's
think they're
getting a
not
shiny new stadium as of today, so
right.
he's
That
happy right now.
So I get it. There's some pros and cons to him. I understand that you might have a connection and a guy in Tommy Reese who feels highly of Jalen Milroe. He has all the intangibles off the field of being, a scholar and having his head on right and XYZ.
That's fine, but I don't know. For me, his his mechanics themselves, like he doesn't have a smooth delivery. If you watch him, I don't know. To be successful in the NFL, you got to hit routine throws consistently. I mean, you got to be robotic in those routine throws. And he's not. I don't, like I said, I think his ceiling's high. And I think you could steal him in a second. Who knows? Maybe even third round. I don't know what's going to happen. That's great, but it's not time for us to take a flyer there.
Yeah, I don't think Jalen Milroe falls to the third just because of his athletic ability. Some people give him the running back moniker like they did with Lamar and that kind of thing, and him being able to have a fit on some roster somewhere just with his pure athletic ability alone. But yeah, it doesn't inspire me like taking a guy like Shedeur or trading up to take a guy like Shedeur, foreshadowing once again, would do for me. Let's get into the last guy real quick. I know this is supposed to be quick to takes, but this has been fun. Tyler
Yeah.
Stowe. How do you feel about Tyler Stowe? Because I am all the way off. There's a lot of experts that think that this guy could be the truth for a lot of people. I smell Brandon Weeden.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a fan. I want to hear what you think his downsides are. But for me, yeah, I'm in the same place as I said with Milrow, but worse, right? I mean, I just think he's a backup journeyman maybe kind of guy. I don't see him as a starter with a high ceiling. And again, that's not what we need.
Yeah, I'm with you. He doesn't have years of tape. He had one good year at Louisville, which is fine. Louisville's a high enough school in my mind where that tape should count. It's not like he played at, Incarnate Word or something like Cam Ward did initially or
Right.
whatever it is. But he also has not one, but two season-ending injuries underneath his belt. Another
Mhm.
injury that made him miss significant time. The injury history is there. Yeah, he has a lot of the size, stature, mindset, blah, blah, blah. But taking a guy who's 25, about to be 26, which isn't typical for what Andrew Berry does. Andrew Berry drafts young. Taking a guy who has that deep injury history and taking a guy who only has one good, solid, full year of film.
Yeah.
In any other draft, he's a day 3 pick. And I've seen, I don't know if it was Mel Kiper, but it was one of the bigger ESPN heads, had him mocked to us at 33. And if the Cleveland Browns take Tyler So at 33, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. I might have to go find another fan base.
There are, like you said, injuries. He's old. I mean, I probably put him around the 10th or 11th best quarterback in this draft. And that honestly says a lot. I mean, I'd put even Kyle McCord ahead of him. And I think we all know how I felt about, Honda McCord last year. Yeah, I'm out on him for sure.
Yeah, it's just, I get it. Some of the tape is really intriguing from what I've seen on, talk shows and doing some of my own research. But I've seen tape be intriguing for Kyle McCord, for crying out loud.
Mhm.
And you could get Kyle McCord in the 4th round and maybe he turns into something. I don't think he will, but I'd rather take McCord at that. It's just, it's frustrating. I
Tyler
don't
Show,
like
he throws with like too much touch at times, which sounds silly. I don't know. I think his mechanics break down under pressure. He needs to be more of a game manager, and he tries to go and win games. If a coach can put him in a situation with a really good defense and be a game manager, I think he could do okay. But to go out and win a game for you, he's not the guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I also have this weird misconception, I guess. Maybe it's not a misconception that Skip Stefanski, if a guy has the right tool set, can make that guy look like God. Insert Joe Flacco, insert Jacoby Brissett at one time. Insert Case Keenum with the Vikings, and for a stint here and there with us with Baker's injuries.
Go back
I
to
don't
Brian
know.
Hoyer with us.
Well, I'm talking Stefanski specifically.
Oh,
but
okay.
those are just some of the examples. I don't know. I'm still in favor of Shedeur Sanders being the pick. I think the guy has all the intangibles and the tool set to be successful as a Cleveland Brown if you are going quarterback in this draft, and I am on the side of going quarterback in this draft.
Well, I agree, and I think our water cooler is empty. What do you think?
Yeah, I have to take a bathroom break at this point. That's how much water we drank out of that water cooler.
That was like full on segment, but it was fun. I like breaking down each prospect like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's move on though, and I want to jump to our other sport, which is basketball and the Cavs. The question is Ty that guy? So recently there's been some talk that the Cavs could win without Ty Jerome and that he's surplus to requirements. Noah has some video teed up for us, but the question is, do the Cavs need Ty Jerome for a deep playoff run?
Yeah, let me roll that video first. This comes from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show with a plethora of hosts that rotate in and out. But this take is from Jason Lloyd of The Athletic.
Can they win a championship without Ty Jerome? Yeah. Ty Jerome is not the difference to them winning or losing a championship. But I don't want to say that and diminish
I think it is because he's such a – the bench plays a big part in this.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
The longer you go, they have nobody else who can fill his minutes. I mean, it's an important, crucial piece.
You tell me.
It's an important, crucial piece.
It is. Who you got? Because you need Darius or
I just
Donovan
said,
to sit down for just
I think what
3
Jason's
minutes.
saying, let's see if I can speak for you. Tell me if I'm correct. If you look at if you look at a pie of 0 to 100 and all the things that go into winning a championship, without Ty Jerome, their number would go down a little bit, but not enough that it would make the difference between them winning or losing ultimately.
Yeah, that's
that
probably
fair?
Yeah, that's probably close.
Okay.
Noah, I want to jump in and go first on this one because that is insane. The fact that they're talking that they could go on and win no problem without Ty Jerome, that he doesn't add enough to this Cavs team is I don't really have words. First of all, he's one of the most efficient and impactful guards in all of the NBA, despite him being a sixth man, obviously sixth man of the year candidate. He's had about a 50, 40, 90 season. I don't know where he's sitting right now, but that is 50% from the field, 40% from three, 90% from the stripe.
Elite.
That's incredible. No one else in the NBA this year is at that mark. He's a great defender. He has one of the better steal rates in the league for the minutes played. I mean, what doesn't he do? Coach Atkinson talked about him the other day coming off injury, talking about how he controls the pace of the game really well. You know, he's like a lightning bolt off the bench. He's so efficient, and he's such a creative playmaker, which I think we need. But get this, he is so accurate. He's in the 98th percentile for points per shot attempt, which is most on the team behind only Jared Allen. I mean, what more? I just don't get the take. So you got to send your bench in. The bench is so important in basketball. And to say that it's not is another wild take to me. So to get that kind of efficiency from a guy coming and running with the second unit potentially, when you get guys like Donovan rest, how is that not crucial?
I agree with you wholeheartedly because I think he is the sixth man on this team. You can say it's Hunter. You can say it's XYZ player. You could say it's Strus, maybe, if he's not starting the three. Ty Jerome, to me, outside of the core four, is the most important player on this team. And that's because he gives both of our starting all-star guards time to relax while still putting up the highest and most efficient and productive minutes for this Cavs team, to go back to your research. To me, to even question it is blasphemous. It's insane. Ty Jerome is the same player that we are talking about. Is he going to return because we really need him? But as soon as we have a talk show segment about this, oh, well, could they still win without him? It gives... I'm not trying to be critical, but it gives the idea and the thought process of, well, let's play devil's advocate here for a second, which we do here on the show too. So don't get me wrong. It's just like, of course it matters. If Matthew Dellavedova wasn't on those Cavs teams, I think there's a higher chance that we lose in Game 7 just because of his effort minutes. You have guys like that on your team that matter to win a game outside of just your core starting players or your big three or whatever, phrase you want to use for a quasi super team. I'm not saying the Cavs are a super team. I just think they're a well-oiled machine. Yeah. But you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, he plays mistake-free basketball. He's good on and off the ball. His basketball IQ is insanely high. I mean, I don't get where they're coming from in saying that. I get it. I think what they're saying is we have such a strong five that, coming off the bench, could we win without him? Maybe, but it's tough. Could we win without Jared Allen? Maybe, but it's tough. To act like he's not important in his role and what he does. I mean, I'll tell you this. I love DeAndre Hunter. I think he's such a good addition. He helps us defensively. Look for our defense to really tighten up in that efficiency to get so much better come playoff time. I've been saying that for a while.
Especially with the shorter lineup. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but especially with that shorter lineup.
But they asked during that show, it wasn't in the clip that you showed, but if you needed a bucket, you needed a three, are you giving it to Ty Jerome or are you giving it to DeAndre Hunter? And I think we both know that answer. It's Ty Jerome. And they said that on their own show. It's Ty Jerome. So to say that, we could go on, he's not that important, it's wild to me.
You took me down a memory from the show when I watched this, and I was listening to it in the car that I want to ask you. You're at the final couple seconds of a game, and you have the option of either Ty Jerome or Evan Mobley to shoot a three to win the game. Who are you taking?
To shoot a three? Probably Ty, but I'll tell you what, my answer to this question always, who do I want to shoot the ball? It's there was recently a coach that asked this. I think it was in one of the women's games. I forget which one, but the answer for me is always, if I ask who wants the ball, the guy that raises his hand the quickest, I want the shot, that's who I want to take the shot. And I think Ty has that confidence to go win the game for you. So if it's a three, I'm taking Ty.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. I think I'd take Ty too. And we both know how highly I think and how hard I've been on the Evan Mobley train since we've drafted him.
100%.
But I think Ty, he's that guy, man. The question is Ty that guy? Ty's that guy.
Yeah,
man.
he is that guy.
He
I
go
might
be
say
a starter.
Ty. If you told me you can get a look to Ty in the corner for three, or you could have Donovan dribble and take his patented step back three, whatever, at the top of the key, I don't know. I might be picking Ty still.
No, I'd take Donovan there. Ty, the whole team isn't great at corner threes. That's the whole reason they added DeAndre Hunter, because he's pretty good at the corner three. I'd take Donovan in that situation if we're playing hypothetical right now, which is fun. So I'm here for it. But Ty is a guy, like I said in my initial thoughts and takes off of your stats and watching the clip again. Ty is a guy that we are talking about. Hopefully he's back on this roster next year because he's going to go get a bag somewhere. This guy could be a starter on a lot of franchises. And we're talking teams that are good at basketball. Now, is he going to get the bag like he could get to go to like Washington or Utah? No. But he could be a starter. I mean, the Lakers fans and their delusions always, claim the next big thing to come. So they're saying Ty to LA, but he could be a starter in LA with Luka and LeBron and company. It's just to even question. Oh, me neither. But to question his importance to this team, to me, is complete blasphemy.
It's not giving credit to his body of work thus far. And I think that's the real shame of what I got out of watching that show, is that if you're watching Cavs basketball and knowing how he creates for himself and others, how he's been an engine, how he's been a spark, he's come in and turned around a staggering offense at times. That doesn't happen often. Our offense is number one for a reason in the NBA, but he's been that guy. So to turn around and say he's not that important, either you're not watching what he's been doing or you don't rate it. And either way, I think that's crazy.
To give the show credit to, because I watch plenty of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, they are all very much on the Ty train. I think it was more of a devil's advocate type of stance to take, as Jason Lloyd, I think, does in a lot of his different works.
And it was, still, to be fair, it was centered around him coming off injury. How much would you play him as the season ends? There's 4 or 5 games left at the time in their scenario. Would you play him? Should you play him, etc., to keep his feet under him? You don't need him against a first round against, say, they were, theorizing if it's Orlando, for example.
Right.
And I do, I'm not shitting on those guys. I think they do an excellent show, but he's that guy.
Ty is, in fact, that guy.
All right. I want to move us on. We're going to take a quick break, but stay tuned because we're going to talk our favorite subject, Browns, and a potential draft steal of the century. How do you like that tease? We'll be back after this. Welcome back to At the Office. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube and check us out on Instagram and TikTok. Shout out to Fans for Sports, our parent network. They have a lot of great shows. If you like what we do, then chances are you're probably going to like a few others on the network as well. So make sure to check them out. And also make sure you get in on the action and get some At the Office merch. If you watched our live show a couple weeks ago, you might have seen some folks wearing our gear in the background. which was very cool. And if you want to be as cool, head on over to attheofficecle.com. That's attheofficecle.com. There's some new merch and styles that will be coming soon, so stay tuned for that. I couldn't help but notice as I was reading through that Noah's fake sip, which is much worse than John's fake sip. We're missing you, John, but Noah can't fake sip like you can fake sip.
I was hoping there was still a drop of my Olipop Ridge Rush left in there because it is my latest soda addiction. Again, not sponsored, but fantastic, healthy, quote unquote, soda nonetheless.
We should be. So Olipop, if you're listening, come on board. The sponsors love us. All right, let's talk Browns. Headlines recently have indicated that the Browns could move to draft both Shedeur Sanders along with his Colorado teammate Travis Hunter. Noah, break down for me if they can get this done, how they can get this done, and what it would mean if they do get it done.
You know, this is my favorite type of segment where I get to fantasy book some shit. So let me fantasy book some shit.
Let's do it.
First things first, I'm going to pull up a trade example from Twitter. Shout out G. Bush, another member of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, but also does a bunch of his own shows. This is a trade example using the Fitzgerald Spellberger evaluation of, breaking down draft picks worth and giving it a number total. A lot of teams use this in mock scenarios. A lot of I shouldn't say teams, I should say analysts use this in mock scenarios to kind of show worth and value of picks.
This is the what evaluation?
The Fitzgerald Spielberger.
I love that. You sound like Andrew Barry at Harvard saying that. I just wanted to hear it one more time.
Okay, you're welcome. In this mock trade that G. Bush proposes, we give up the 33rd overall pick, the 94th overall pick, 179, 192, and get the Panthers' 8th overall pick. Now, I get it. Numbers-wise, it makes sense. I think it's still, I don't know if they'll go through with that. So I put together my own trade because, of course, I did. So this is Noah's Fitzgerald Spielberger evaluation trade with the Raiders. Raiders just signed Geno Smith to a long-term extension. Maybe them trading back and getting some assets makes sense. Yes, they have a lot of holes in their team. That's why, aside from the draft capital I propose here, I propose giving up one of two, or maybe both players, Greg Newsome and or Wyatt Teller, who are both names that are potentially on the trade block right now. And yes, that just hurt me to say that, Erik.
Yeah, I could tell that it hurt.
So in my trade scenario, it's very similar to G. Bush's. 33, 94, 192, 200, a slew of those players for 6th overall, where we get one Shedeur Sanders. So those are a couple examples. Who knows if they go through? Draft day's wild. We can never really pick what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, if we'd have to give up another first to get there, or what that would all look like. But using that trade scenario system and thinking about giving up some players and doing that type of thing, that's how they could do it. So obviously they'd take Hunter at 2, Sanders at one of those picks. Those are obviously reaching a little bit high, getting back into the top 10. What do you think, E?
Yeah, I mean, the question for me is going to come down to what they have to give up in order to get this done. I like it. I mentioned recently that in my footage watching Colorado, my biggest takeaway had nothing to do with Shedeur Sanders, and I think he's a very good quarterback. It was all about Travis Hunter. I mean, he steals the show. The fact that he probably can play both ways in the NFL, he gives us positions that we need on both sides of the ball. He's a freak of nature. I mean, there's no other way to put it. So drafting him at 2, I like him more than I like Abdul Carter at 2. I'll say that. If we're able to then draft up and get Sanders, again, it depends what we're giving away. I think it's one of the best drafts that we'll have. Yes, we have some key holes that we need to fill. One of them, by the way, was wide receiver. We've already checked that off now. It gets me excited. Can we pull it off? Do I expect us to do this? No, honestly, I don't expect this to happen. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know. I go back and forth because I really wouldn't be surprised. For whatever reason, my gut is telling me that we're not taking a quarterback at 2. And if that's the case,
I don't think they're taking a quarterback at 2. I think they're completely locked in on Travis Hunter at this point. All signs point to that. And they could prove us wrong because no one really knows what they're doing ever. And they could just say, we fell in love with Shedeur at the beginning of this process. We didn't want to risk not getting him. So we took him at 2 and we're going to lay in the bed and whatever, lay with that decision. I don't know what I'm trying to say. You get what I'm trying to say.
I get what you're... I do. Here's the thing, though. If they do make that decision, and let's say that Shedeur's off the board, we know Cam will be off the board. Let's say they go with like a Will Howard. And this isn't me dogging on Will Howard at all. But then we have another season like we saw last season where quarterback play is really abysmal, and that's why we're losing football games. I think the leash gets real short real soon. We talked about Barry and Stefanski being okay and being the guys. I don't think their leash is as long as you think it is. I think that they're quietly being supported, and I think that they are the guys right now. But they keep losing football games like they did last year. It's over for them. So if they miss on quarterback, I think it's more detrimental to this team than it is picking up a great two-way player like that. We could talk about building for the future. We talk about Myles Garrett in that way all the time, but we need a quarterback right now to win football games, period. And if we're still supposedly in this win now kind of window scenario, trying to get the most out of Myles and win while he's here, I don't know, man. We gotta get a quarterback. I don't care if we're trading for him, whether it's Kirk or not. I know you're off on Kirk, but we need a guy. And rolling into this season, what we have right now, who knows? Maybe Kenny Pickett will surprise us, but I wouldn't count on it.
I don't think the idea here is to roll with Kenny Pickett, to be fair. I think
agreed.
In their heart of hearts, what they want to happen is to have both Hunter and Sanders. Are they going to be able to do that? I don't know. The whole regime was there for that pro day. They were yipping it up with Dion, Shedeur, Travis, all of them. They were all multiple pictures. Haslam
including ownership.
Right. I
wild.
think they are in love with the tandem of those two. I think that's part of the reason why they're interested in Travis Hunter, mainly as a wide receiver first. I hope they can do it because I am on the Sanders train. Tim Lyons keeps asking us why we're on the Sanders train, so I will rehash why I'm on the Sanders train. He's been raised to do this. He has all the tools to succeed in a Kevin Stefanski offense. He has done it at multiple levels, taking a piss poor program and brought it up, whether it be Jackson State, who is a mediocre HBCU for multiple years in terms of football, Colorado, and now he can be able to do it in the NFL and potentially next to one of his best friends and teammates. He's also a good guy off the field. I'm not one to judge someone who drinks and does their thing, but he does none of that. All he cares about is football and some nice cars and making a rap song here and there. He's Deion Sanders 2.0 in terms of personality and
I want to answer that too, since Tim keeps asking. There's a lot of upsides to Shedeur, but he has strong pocket passing ability. He's accurate. His ball placement's phenomenal. He's known to throw with both touch and precision. I mean, mentally, the kid is a winner. He's ready to win now. I don't see a lot of downside. My only downside I mentioned was, it was the Dion show, and it's been the Dion show, that kind of circus atmosphere I don't like. But it can't be worse than the circus we've had. And the more that they talk and the more that I hear Dion talk about where he'd like to see his son, the better, I think, and the more highly I rate both of them. So I'm all in. I think it would be great. We're not drinking too much mead, that Tim just put in the comments. Maybe we are. Listen, Tim, I understand that you're a Bengals fan, so you kind of get this, but don't really. The very best time in a Browns fan's life is pre-draft. It's the excitement of what we're going to do in the draft. Sometimes it carries over to right after the draft, and it carries over to about the second or third game of the season. We thought we broke through that, and the most important and fun time was the actual football. Turns out we're right back to draft being better. So
Right back, baby. Let's get
you-
after it. Let's talk some
Yeah.
drafts. Who's the 4th round pick that's going to change this damn franchise, baby?
exactly. So you got to give us this, because this is all we have right now. We're probably not going to be a playoff team next year. I say probably, you never know, but that's hope springs eternal. I think that's bullshit, and I'm just trying to make myself feel better. So it's what we have, and we have to get excited for it.
You know, we've talked at length on this show in multiple episodes about Shedeur Sanders, but I don't think we've given Travis Hunter the flowers that he deserves and the flowers of being a potential great fit for the Cleveland Browns. I know we're both on the quarterback train, but to take a step back in terms of the overarching narrative with this draft, it's not a strong quarterback class. Sanders could be a little bit later in the draft potentially and makes sense. So let's talk some Travis Hunter. Let's talk about his fit. Let's start with this. Do you think he will play 2 ways in the NFL?
I do. If you asked me this 6 months ago, I would have probably said no, but the more and more I watch the guy and I listen to the guy, yes, I think he will be a 2-way player. You?
Yeah. I think he 100% will be a 2-way player as well. I think any team that takes him and wants to put him in a box. Tim Lyons is calling in right now, so I'm going to pick this up and give it over to you. So give me 1 second. Oh, it just hung up. Anyway, I don't like putting a player into a box whatsoever. I don't think it makes sense to do that with him. He's done it at every level of his career, has been told not to be it, that he's not able to do it at every level of his career, and has still done just that, playing both ways.
Yeah, listen, he has elite ball skills and he's super athletic. He tracks the ball extremely well, which is important for both sides of the ball of what he's playing. He has high football IQ. I think he's a guy that is capable of making big plays on both sides of the ball, and the potential for him to be a game changer is high. He runs his routes really well. He catches the ball really well outside of his frame. I mean, I think there's...
press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Looks like we're going with a caller. I heard that.
Tim, you there, man?
Yeah, I'm here.
Tim, welcome into At the Office. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you doing, man?
Oh, we're doing. What do you gotta say for the people?
So this is what I got to say, and I don't mean to be raining on your guys' parade at all. Not at all. And I know this is an exciting time for, the offseason as a Bengals fan, as a Browns fan, as Steelers and whatnot. And I know we all have our wish list and everything. But I'm honestly, outside looking in, and not a bash on the Browns or any other team, but to be all sold on Shedeur Sanders at number 1 in the first round, I think it's a big gamble for you guys, for any NFL team.
Why do you call
maybe second, maybe third round?
Why do you call it a gamble?
Well, let's put it this way. Like I said in the chat, if you see what I said in the chat, in 1999, the Cincinnati Bengals were all sold on a man called Achilles Smith. He was talented in college football. He was successful in college football. Then we drafted him, and he was a flop. And I'm not saying that Shedeur Sanders is a flop, but he is not a QB1. He is not somebody that you can just put in there. And also, my other point is and I'll make it quick and to the point here, is the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers have this whole wish list of wanting Shedeur Sanders at number 1. I understand that. But the thing is you guys have nobody to develop a rookie quarterback to play day 1 or to play week 8. That's the problem is you guys have nobody to develop a rookie quarterback. All you're going to do is waste your draft pick on somebody that's not going to make any impact, because, of course, every NFL team, they want to draft a quarterback or a player round 1 and make that impact day 1. Sorry,
I want to respond
I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer here, but Shedeur is not the answer.
No,
So
I get what you're
Shedeur's
saying,
not
Tim,
the
but
answer. Can you hear Erik, by the way, Tim?
No, I don't hear him.
Okay, I'll take this for a second real quick, Erik. You say Shedeur is not the answer. You say he's not a day one plug in. Why do you say that? Why do you not think that he can play day one? Why do you think he doesn't have that toolbox? Like, what is the actual reasoning behind that?
Yeah, he had a good college career. You know, he made more of an impact when he was at Florida A&M or whatever the hell college he was at.
Jackson State, but yeah.
Yeah, you know, then he came to Colorado and his dad, and you know, he had Travis Hunter. You know, okay, that's great. He threw for like 4,000 yards last year.
Yeah.
So you know, I just don't see him being successful. He's not Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders is an athlete that nobody will ever see again. And unfortunately, I don't think Shedeur is him. That's just, I'm not sold on him.
See, I'm sold on him because I think he fits the different things. Erik says, I want to know, it's all a gamble. We developed Baker. It isn't the same.
But did you develop Baker, though? Because Baker was pretty talented, and he had that chip on his shoulder before he came to Cleveland, and he balled out when he was in college, and he kept balling out. See, there's one thing about saying that you developed him, but Baker Mayfield's a different guy. Baker Mayfield is better than Shedeur.
You don't see the same tenacity in Shedeur Sanders?
No, I really don't. I really don't see him being, you know, a plug and play day one starter for you guys or any NFL team, unless you have a coach or, you know, the QB coaches to develop him. You know, it's going to take probably 2 to 4 years to develop Shedeur Sanders. So why not set up the Cleveland Browns to be successful day one with, you know, a defender or, you know, or Travis Hunter? You know, I don't know.
I get you, man. Hey, we appreciate your call. We're going to agree to disagree
Take
for
care,
now.
guys.
But thank you, man.
Yeah.
I just, when we hear, you know, that we can't develop a QB, I get it. I say the same things, but this is not the same staff. This is a completely different staff that tried, you know, that they didn't try to develop since '99. And I think Baker is a good example. To say that Shedeur isn't that guy, maybe he's not, but we just don't know. I mean, every point of the draft is, look at where a guy like, I don't know, name me a good quarterback. I mean, Tom Brady's obviously an example, but he was a 12th round guy. You just don't know.
6th round guy. Know your NFL draft knowledge, man.
I know. No. I was being facetious, but my point is that I don't know that, you know, this stat, and thank you for the call, Tim. You could call the show too. Call or text us 216-260-3433. That's 216-260-3433. We just don't know right now how we will develop him or what he's made of. And is he worth the risk? I think so.
Yeah, I hate comparing players, quarterbacks to Baker Mayfield, especially as a Browns fan, because I feel like we're trying to rehash the same old song and dance that didn't work out, and we need to move on and just be content that it was time for us to part ways with that guy. The NFL draft to me is a gamble, and I'm going to gamble on a guy with NFL pedigree, with all the tools that we have seen succeed before in a Kevin Stefanski offense, with a guy who has been a quarterback developer. That's something I didn't get to say to Tim while he was on the phone, but Kevin Stefanski has been known before his time in Cleveland to develop quarterbacks. You have a quarterback coach here now that is good friends with the Sanders family, and you have Tommy Rees, who is a fantastic young offensive mind. To me, that sounds like a pressure cooker for success for a young quarterback that has a lot of the tools, a lot of the mindset, a lot of the intangibles that you need to be successful in the NFL.
Listen, I will be excited to see him if it is in fact him, and to get the two of them playing together. Count me in, man.
Yeah, that is not to spoil the surprise, but we will be doing a live draft show where hopefully all three of us are together. Potentially even Matt will be there for the first day, so we can react to how the first round of the NFL draft goes and, you know, talk some general NFL knowledge with you guys. But that's what I'm going to be looking for. I truly think the pick at number 2 is going to be Travis Hunter no matter what. And then they're going to try to wine and dine and gamble their way into Shedeur Sanders so they can have the dynamic Colorado duo play football together here in the orange and brown on the mistake on the lake.
We're ending that narrative. All right. I want to move us on. I think that was a lot of fun. I, for one, like I said, I'll be really excited if we do manage to pull that off. We'll see what happens. There's a lot to happen still, and I don't think the front office is done by any means. All right, let's wrap things up with our final thoughts and takes. Hot takes sometimes. Noah likes the spicy ones. Noah, what is your final thought?
Yeah, my final thought is simple. The Cleveland Guardians need to get it together, man. They have made me nervous more than I need to be nervous for this team, especially being an ALCS a team appearance last year, winning the division last year. I think the talent is still very much there to do it. We saw it in the first couple games when we talked around this time last week. We were feeling really good. Granted, they did take 2 games from the White Sox, but we know what the White Sox are and how abysmal of a franchise they have been as of late. So I really want to see them get back to form. It's still early, so I'm not panicking yet, but winning opening day on a walk-off walk was not awe-inspiring to me. They did win today, 3-1, I believe, which is great. But yeah, I just want to see more out of the Guards, but there's still plenty of baseball left.
There is plenty of baseball. Listen, I think it's going to be a dogfight, the Central. It could go either way. I can see this team missing the playoffs. I can see this team squeaking in. What I can't see, unfortunately, as of now, and maybe I'm too nearsighted right now, but I do not see a deep playoff run, unfortunately. They are not equipped to take on the Yankees. They are not equipped to take on quite a few teams. It's unfortunate, but it's where we're at right now.
I get you, brother. I get you.
For me, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Gino Auriemma is the best basketball coach maybe of all time, men's or women's. I know that's a lot, but 12 national championships, 12-1, excuse me. I mean, that's just unheard of kind of excellence. 12-1 in the national championship.
Can you remind me where your UConn fandom came from? Because you don't have friends, family in Connecticut. And
little known fact, I grew up in Connecticut.
No, you didn't.
No, I'm totally kidding. No, I don't know. That's a good question, honestly. I think so I've been a UConn fan for a long time. I think as a kid, I always liked UConn. I liked the East Coast teams. And with the exception of 2007, Ohio State was never really in it. I couldn't really root for my collegiate team that I root for in football, and I'm a huge fan of, because they never really made the tournament, and if they did, they never really did much in the tournament. I don't know if it was the Husky, the Blue. I don't know. I don't really have an answer. I think I was so anti, the hipster in me was everybody picks between Duke and North Carolina. And I hated that. I hated that these two teams in North Carolina found their way to Ohio and everyone was a fan of either one of those. And so I think I wanted to rebel against that. And I started following them. And
so you bandwagon is the long and short of this. You are a bandwagon fan.
Not at all. No, I've been a fan for a very long time. Gino, I mean, was I watching women's basketball at UConn prior to Gino getting there in the 80s when I wasn't alive? No. It should be noted, by the way, as part of my hot take, UConn had one winning season prior to him getting there. In his first season taking over, he had his only losing season. I think he went like 15-17 or I don't know, something like that. And ever since, every single season's been a winning season, and 12 national championships in 13 appearances. I mean, the next highest national champion active coach is three or four.
Yeah.
And then non-active is like 6. I mean, he's far and away so good, but men's will be back next year as well. I'm not worried about them. I will say I am a fan I think Dan Hurley is great for basketball, but he does irk me like he does non-UConn fans. That comment coming off the court and trying to strong arm that journalist, like, come on, dude. Like, that's not cool.
That's all you got? You're good?
That's
You
what I
done,
got. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I had a good time. I love talking Cleveland Browns draft. I appreciate Tim for the call again, man. That was great. I'm trying to think if there's anything else on the top of my mind. Go Guards, go Cavs. Finish out the season healthy. Everybody sit down and take a nice break on the bench. I am a Ray Allen guy, so maybe there is a little UConn in me somewhere.
Are
I
you?
do love. Yeah, I have a Ray Allen Bucks jersey and everything, man. One of my favorite legends.
No. I know you were a young buck when we were playing the Celtics all those years, but just because of that, I mean, I like him for being a UConn guy, and I think he's a fantastic shooter. Don't get me wrong, but that Celtics team was so damn frustrating. Like, I can't be a KG guy. I can't be a Ray Allen guy. None of them. Wait,
Yeah.
what was the other guy? Who was the one that shat his pants?
Paul Pierce.
Oh, Paul Pierce. Yeah, I couldn't think of his name. Forever go down in history there.
Fair enough. Yes, it will. Even I knew that, and I don't. I was young. So
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I had to be carried off the court. All right. Thank you for joining us at The Office, sponsored by D&D Meadery. Don't forget to subscribe or hit that download button if you're listening to the audio-only version of our show. And check us out on all of our socials. It's at the @ The Office CLE. You can see it down below on our bar there. And, I had fun tonight. The debate never ends, but for now, the show does. So we'll see you next time.